Welcome to the show, Fatima.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Great. So, what's your story?
So, my story is I'm Fatima Al Qubaisi. I'm a lawyer in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, and I happen to be the first woman to attend Harvard Law School.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Great. And I'm sure that you are setting a great example for guys as well as girls who look up to you and who want to follow the path that you have taken. And I think it's an incredible achievement that you are the first woman to be able to do that. Speaking of education, how did your education play a role in helping you develop a career?
So, my education played a role in developing my career because I started in a university where all the classes were taught in French at La Sorbonne in Abu Dhabi. And it was really surreal joining a university that's in French because I didn't speak any French. So I had to take 1 year of intensive French classes. And then I did law for 3 years for basically native French speakers, and it was quite challenging. Um, and it's very different. The European way of teaching was very much, memorization. Like not a lot of our professors knew what PowerPoints were. They were like a very rare thing during my courses. But at Harvard, I think it was so different. Instead of, learning and memorizing laws and regurgitating material, I think people really learn about themselves. They learn what kind of a person they are. They learn to think analytically. And I think what Harvard has taught me is just to question things. I think I didn't really do that enough, and that's not called for, in with French laws, because we were just asked to memorize them. But at Harvard, you were always asked, did the court make the right decision? Do you agree with the defense of this lawyer? What do you think? And I think I never really thought about my voice having that much impact until I went to Harvard.
Right. And that's really exciting because, I can kind of also had the similar experience where um, I come from a business background where you're not allowed to question the decision of your seniors, and you just have to follow it. For after going to Harvard Business School and doing all the case studies, I got to understand that you have to think in the overall interest of the company and not exactly what your seniors might say that this is what the best path is. And only then I kind of began to realize that how people can come together to make good decisions for the company. And it doesn't mean that if a certain decision comes from your senior or your manager, it's necessarily good or better for the company. And so it's always good to have that holistic approach where you're considering different factors rather than just simply going by what your seniors tell you. So I think that kind of critical thinking certainly makes a lot of difference. And the other thing was that I also took a negotiation class. It was decision making class with Professor Bruce Hay, and negotiation was one part of it. But yeah, I think I, I believe you have also had an experience with negotiation class, right?
Yeah, so I took the negotiation workshop where we also have cross registrants. And I think that really was a class that changed how I thought about negotiation techniques and just how to approach it. So we were asked for our very first task. We were negotiating as a team with another table. And basically, at the very end, we had to make a call. And the call was whether, it's going to be win-lose and we win and we basically, rip off the other party, or win-win, where we do as we said, as we promised. And it was kind of funny looking at that decision, with a bunch of very type A people, overachievers in the room who all wanted to win. And I think what's ironic is I think the people who were maybe more mature, who had a few more years on their career, were more leaning towards, hey, no, let's be fair. I also tabled for that. And I remember when that exercise ended, you could just see, people were furious with those that had, that had betrayed them, and friendships were, up in flames. And I think what our professor said was just, it was Robert Mnookin, and he said something that stuck with me. It's that, your reputation follows you everywhere. And even though you may win this one negotiation, don't forget that, your relationship is really what matters.
It's true. And now that I've made a transition from finance to media, I've kind of realized that, every conversation or every communication that you have, and especially in the role of someone who is representing his company, you have to be very careful about how you hold yourself up. Otherwise, that could affect not only your reputation, but also the reputation of people who are working or who are associated with you. So, yeah, I think that's a great point that he mentioned. Now, shifting gears a little bit, what's your definition of happiness?
I think my definition with happiness right now during these COVID-19 times is, staying sane at home. I think my definition is, a little bit of sunshine, having, my favorite morning tea, the little things. I think, because I think we were all so caught up in the day to day that this has really forced us to literally stay home and sit with ourselves. And so I think my definition of happiness is, who are you, when no one's around, and it's really the little things that count.
Happiness is who you are when no one is around, and it's in those little things where, like you mentioned, you want to have your tea and it's trying to stay sane during these crazy times. And one thing that I've realized is that I've begun to sort of appreciate more the people that I have in my life and the kind of difference they make. And I miss catching up with them, and I miss having that personal touch and that discussions that we used to have in pre-COVID-19 era. And that's when you realize the importance of people during such times. And also it gives you time to reflect on yourself and see how you had been leading things and what can you change. And you can get into your creative flow and make a good use of it, because my family is in India, and they always complain whenever I talk to them that, we are in a lockdown, there's nothing to do. More than half of the day is just gone, like, in sleeping. And so uh, how I don't know how you are staying productive. And I just tell them that I had a lot of projects on the back burner, and now I'm giving them time. And that's how I'm staying creatively um, uh, stimulated, as well as emotionally happy, because when you're working towards something and you see it happen gradually, it kind of keeps you in a positive frame of mind. So yeah, I think I am a huge fan of drinking tea as well. So that is something that I feel everyone should do.
Wow, that's really great. I completely agree with you. It's the little things.
How have the people around you, like your friends and family, inspired or influenced you?
My family has always challenged me. I think, the typical Emirati woman's, the stereotype, and when I was growing up, at least in school, um, we didn't really think of having a career. I think a lot of girls just kind of took it for granted. The way things would be is we would, finish school, university, get married, and that was pretty much it. Nobody in my class went to study abroad. And we didn't, even I never thought it was possible. I didn't think that was something that I was going to do someday. And I think just, again, questioning why things are the way they are, and also keeping an open mind and knowing that your normal today is not going to be your normal tomorrow. And so I think just with my family, they always wanted what's best for me, and they've always pushed me to succeed. And also, they didn't stand in my way when I had big dreams and I wanted to do, the unthinkable, the unimaginable. And they kind of just, they were taken aback a little, but once they saw it was in process and it was going well, they were very encouraging. As for my friends, I think that, they're they're my rock, they're everything. I think um, I think people sometimes forget that you can choose your friends. Strangely enough, I think when we build friendships, it really is like a bank account. You have to invest in it, you have to nourish it, you have to, put effort into it. And I think now with having friends, as in on Instagram, Facebook, social media, are these friends? I think these sensitive times as well have really showed us who are our bonds strongest with, who wants to talk to us when we can't hang out, who still wants to be close to you when they have nothing to gain and you can't grab a coffee or anything like that. So I think friendships, now more than ever, are so important to our day-to-day routine and our backbone.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's great that you talked about how your family was supportive. And unfortunately, that's not a reality for a lot of women from South Asia and Southeast Asia. And after having met a lot of people from that region over the years, even in the region, for example, like that I would normally not have friends with or interact with. So people from Pakistan or Afghanistan, even Iran, and they would say that it is sort of looked down upon when women have ambitions or when they have any goals that are considered sort of very much out of the norm for them. And now it's great that you and other women like you are kind of paving this path for them, because once you have role models or people to look up to, then it really gives you the confidence, and it makes you feel that okay, they were able to break these barriers and achieve something. Why can't I do that? And I think that's really wonderful. My dad was a bit uh, unsure when I said that I want to study at Harvard. It was my decision because I had seen a lot of my seniors from my undergrad go to other universities like Wharton School of Business or Tuck School of Business, and I felt like, okay, these guys were just a year ahead of me and they're doing so well. I think I can get to that point where I can, be part of this educational institution. So I really had to work hard on getting a good GMAT score, because it was something that was very daunting for me as someone who was never kind of very analytical to begin with, which is surprising because my first job was in finance. So, so uh, I think, yeah, but once I got there, it kind of broadened my horizons, and I met friends with so many different people across the world. And it is due to those friendships that I now have my own media company in New York. And it's just, wonderful to see how people uplift you and how they make a difference. So, yeah, it's, I think, great that you have this wonderful support system around you. And I think you are only kind of, becoming an inspiration for more and more people.
Oh, thank you. That's kind of to say, and I really liked your story. It's definitely about making your, like, as cliche as it sounds, but making your dreams come true.
How would you say is your leadership style different than others?
I think my leadership style is different than others because I really am a chameleon. So I grew up, in Arab society. I've lived here, but my early childhood was abroad. So I lived in Europe, and I only spoke German till the age of 10. And then when I was 10, I had to learn English and Arabic. So I've kind of learned to adapt culturally, from a perspective of just accepting people around me, from being completely clueless, being thrown in a school where I didn't speak the language. I had no idea what was going on. All the cultural norms were different. And um, and within, I think, 1 year of like grade 5, I went from being the mute girl in school to the girl that was bribing everyone with stickers at school to because I couldn't communicate. So I was like, hey, do you want a sticker? Like, that's how I reached out and made friends. And I think like that approach hasn't changed. Not the bribing part, but kind of the want for social interaction, the want to be seen, to be heard. um, and I think that that's a leadership style in itself, where um, I worked in a company that wasn't so encouraging of women. There weren't many female um, leaders. There weren't many female managers, and that was one of the reasons that I left, and I joined Dubai Tourism, where there are a lot of female leaders. Female leadership is something that is encouraged and warranted and merited. And looking at the strong women and the departments that they carry, it just shows that any organization that doesn't have female leadership is really losing out on such an integral and important perspective.
Exactly. And I think I can vouch for that, because when I first made my video ever, like the first video that I ever directed, I had most of most of the crew members were female. I think all of them were female except me. uh, and that's when I kind of realized that, when uh, there's this perception that, women don't support other women, and then they have this ego problems, or they don't want to see other women succeed. And some of that is true, because I have seen that kind of toxic behavior as well. But uh, in my experience so far, every time I have been confronted with a situation where something needs to be done on time and budget, which is pretty much all the time in media, but you have to really pull through resources sometimes and get it done. I found that whenever there are women on set, and they are uh, handling the production, it is always better organized, it's better planned. They are better at communication, and they are better at finding solutions when unanticipated problems come up. So I certainly agree that having women in workforce and in your team makes a lot of difference, because they bring a certain kind of understanding which a collective of men wouldn't have. And that's why it's important that we include them in leadership positions across the board. That being said, I think my mom kind of played a huge role in making me understand what leadership is, because as you said that you were making friends by giving people stickers, and you were always in a situation, uncomfortable situation, where you had to figure out things and learn. My mom kind of has been the same person who, despite never taking any business classes in her life, she created her own business to support my family business. And she doesn't do it anymore because we don't need to. But um, when there was a difficult time, she stood up, and she made sure that she understood business concepts and went about doing things in a way that is hard for other people to do. It's great that you have that kind of understanding, and so that certainly makes you a different leader in that sense.
Thanks. I really like your mom's story, and I think that runs true for a lot of women. I see it. I mean, there's a lot of research as well that shows that just having different perspectives, whether it's gender, race, just different everything, it just helps so much to you just get a viewpoint from so many different people. And also, I think just enabling women, that way you enable the society. Like even in Africa, there's a lot of research showing that when women are given jobs and businesses, and they run things, they enable the whole community, the society, and they uplift everyone. I just see that in reality as well.
What kind of impact would you like to see your work have on people?
So I think I would like my work in the future. I think I want to be a spokeswoman for women. I definitely got interested in the law because I saw how unfair things were in society, and I thought, why are things so unfair? I remember, reading the Constitution when I was very young, and I thought, it says right here that we're equal. And uh, and then the reality of when I was growing up and I was little was that there were so many things that women couldn't do just because of their gender. And I wondered, is it, our society preventing us? Is it, fathers, brothers, uncles, even moms telling us, no, you can't do this? Or is it the law itself? And I think that really, interested me. Even nowadays, I reach out to a lot of women. I try to mentor young women, and there are a lot of women who reach out to me who have struggles, who have issues, and I think just having a way of voicing those, um, and being able to help them someday, that would be a dream of mine. I think professionally, I would love to be able to help people, and I hope that someday I can make that my career, and just contributing, I think, to the society, even if it's not my main job, but if it's something I do continuously, that's something I look forward to.
That's great. And I think we certainly kind of, need a different approach to how women are seen not only as individuals, but also their place in society. Because when my sister was making these difficult choices about what her career should be, that's when I kind of felt that my family also was in a way holding her back, because she wanted to become an actress. And my family was initially a bit apprehensive, saying that acting is something that we have not done ever, and that's not our field. And if you should consider business, or maybe you should consider anything along the lines of what traditionally women are seen as doing. And she was a bit taken aback that she felt that her family would support her. But then here they were saying that maybe this is not the right career choice for you. And she felt that she didn't have a voice in her own family. And so that's when I had to kind of make these things understand to my parents that we are living in 21st century, and it's okay to become an actress. And if this is what she wants to do, then you should empower her rather than holding her back. And that's a good thing as well as bad thing, because it's good that my parents eventually understood and now they support her and she has done a lot of projects. But it's bad that it took me, like it took an intervention from another guy for them to understand that she was right all along. And that's when I began seeing that a lot of people that I work with, especially women, um, face those difficult choices, and a lot of them sometimes are in a certain career at the expense of their family relationships. And I feel that's an unfair choice to make, even on your own or forced by circumstances. And as you said that constitution says that uh, women are equal to men, and yet the same rights or same privileges are not afforded to them. And using that as sort of your beacon to make the change, I think that's really commendable. And I think using that as your North Star is kind of driving you to do these amazing things. So I think just having that intent to help people out in whatever way you can, and empowering women so that they can uh, fulfill their dreams, I think in itself is a very worthy goal. And I feel that you get all the help and support and resources to make those things happen.
Thank you. I mean, I'm really glad, your sister was able to make her dreams come true, and that she was able to do what she wanted to do. But also, I don't think, you did an intervention. I think, you supported her, and I think that's what women need. They need the support of other people, whether male or female. And also, I think a lot of these rules that we have are really only rules in our minds. They don't really exist. And that's what I'm finding as well with the laws, that the laws are actually very enabling and they help women, but women don't know, and they don't know how to take advantage of these laws. And so that's really the scenario that I hope to achieve, that women will understand that the law is on their side if they only researched it, and if maybe the law was a bit more user friendly. So definitely, I think people always need someone to back them, and women are no exception to that.
that brings us to our last question. What's next? What are the exciting ideas or projects you're working on? And what can the listeners expect from you going ahead?
So what's next is actually I'm currently involved in a program. It's called the UAE Youth Leadership Program. It's very interesting. It's about how to think of leadership from a different perspective. We talk about agile leadership. We talk about what are the best companies out there doing. What are the 500 Fortune companies doing? How are they different? Why are some companies surviving and others are not? And I just think looking at leadership and looking at soft skills and how to harness them is something that we're just now starting to get into. We focused so much on technical ability and and um, and knowledge itself has been something that is to be acquired. But I think more recently we realized that social skills, EQ, teamwork are so relevant in today's day and age. And now that computers are evolving constantly, what are the jobs that aren't going to be replaced? How do you as an individual stay relevant? And there was research that was shared with us that showed that the people in managerial positions, people in leadership, the thinkers, the creatives, people like you who do podcasts and write screenplays, those are the kind of professions that are really very difficult to replace, and those are the ones that are going to matter even more in the future and be even more competitive. And so I think just continuing to grow and learn, and I think just being a lifelong learner, that no matter where you are in your career, no matter um, what achievements you have behind you, I think a Harvard degree, if anything, is a lot of pressure to live up to. um, but yeah, just learning day to day, and I think that's my goal.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a wonderful goal. And as you mentioned about the youth mentorship program, I myself have not been like formally a part of such program, but um, I think after finishing my coursework at Harvard, I was kind of invited back to my undergrad institution to talk to students, the master students in finance. And I wanted to make clear to them that I have not done masters in finance, by the way. So just wanted to let you know that you are reaching out to right person. And they're like, yeah, we are sure of that. It's just that we want to we want you to share your experience of being in finance, and that goes much further than having a master's degree. And I was really honored that they kind of reached out to me, because I really wasn't like the brightest kid when I was in my undergrad days, and I felt like other people would fit that profile much better as a guest speaker. But they were like, yeah, but we also want you. So that was a way for me to kind of then keep in touch with those students and help them along the way as they transition from being just a student to becoming a finance professional. And I think, yeah, that kind of involvement just certainly makes a difference, because you're helping people overcome those at least those common mistakes that that people usually make. And that is what I try to do even with my screenwriting or my podcasting, because whenever we try to help brands do their own podcast, we make them understand that because you have a certain reputation, these kind of mistakes should be avoided, and this is how we can help you. So that's where we kind of bring in our expertise. But I think the overarching goal, as you mentioned, is that to be able to live up to a Harvard degree, and then to make sure that you are making a difference in society, and not only just furthering your career. That is a high kind of expectation to live up to. And I think so far you're doing a great job. I mean, uh, it's difficult, and not all the answers will be apparent to you. And that is something that I also kind of constantly question, that have I made the right choice from moving, like from finance to media? On some days I feel it was the best choice I made in my life. some days I feel like I'm doomed, and this is going to amount to nothing.
I'm sure
So
that's not true. I'm sure that's not true.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's been just 3 years that I've made this shift, and I have zero complaints. I mean, I have been able to tell every kind of story that I wanted to tell, and then some. So it's certainly creatively very fulfilling. Um, and it's during these times that you wonder that how can the future of jobs or the future of companies be used and analyzed to impart knowledge to other people. And I certainly take a lot of inspiration from companies or people who have seen difficult times and were able to survive that, because every decision you make as a startup founder is like either it takes you closer to your dream or 10 steps back. So it has to be very carefully considered. But yeah, I think certainly you are a role model for a lot of people, and the way you have conducted your life so far, I think will be a good example for a lot of people to look up to. So in conclusion, I would like to wish you all the luck for your projects, and I know they'll be a huge success, and I hope all your dream comes true.
I wish you the same. And I'm sure, sometimes we do things and we wonder, like, what was I thinking? I think we all have those moments. And it's very important once you've made a decision, just stick to it and go with it. And maybe years later, not even now, I think you don't have all the pieces of the puzzle to think, oh, this was what was really right for me. This is what was meant for me. And I think you know even now people are going to question what is in store for them. With so many people losing jobs, I think we're gonna face some very difficult times, and it's going to come down to who are the people who bond together, who come together during these difficult times and help each other and are really there for each other. And um, and I think it will take people like you to tell these stories, to show them and showcase all the good that is out there as well, because we're being bombarded by so much, negative news that can really drag you down. So I think um, that each of us has something that they can contribute, whether it's doing a show, whether it's legal advice, things like that. So it's just about trying to make whatever little difference that you can.
Perfect. Yeah. So thank you so much for being on the show. It was great fun having you.
Thank you for having me, and happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you so much.